Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is riving knives. I've had so many people tell me so many different stories about riving knives. I don't know what the fascination with them is, but today we're going to dig in. I'm going to show you what kickback on the table saw, whether this makes a difference or not, and compare it to a splitter. So let's jump right in. So let's take a moment to take a look at the difference between a riving knife and a splitter. Now I have a riving knife in there now, and you can see that it follows the angle of the blade. You'll also notice that as I move the blade up and down, it tracks the blade. Another thing that a riving knife is usually at or below the height of the blade. So all of those, that's what a riving knife. Everything else is a splitter. So I don't have this locked in here. I'm just going to take it out. I'm going to put in right now a splitter. And this is one form of a splitter. This is the one that came with my saw. And of course it has a hood on it as well. It also has anti-kickback pawls. You can see there's a little teeth there. But despite the fact that this tracks with the blade up and down, doesn't make it a riving knife, and that's because it's actually higher than the blade and it has these other features, so that makes it a splitter. Now there are other splitters that you can get. You may have an older saw, or you may have invested in some adapters. You can get adapters. So in older saws, they came with splitters. It was a little piece of steel that would sit up behind the saw. That's another form of splitter, and it didn't move. It usually did not move with the blade, so it just sat there stationary. Another form of splitter, if you make your own insert, you can actually put it in there, you can set it in there, and I've seen people actually making their own splitters. All of those are different adaptations of a splitter. So splitters were originally designed for people that are cutting natural woods. So this is a natural piece of birch, and some woods, and western maple in the area where I live is notorious for it. When you're pushing natural wood through a saw, what happens with some woods, they have tensions built into them, and those tensions come because there may be knots around the wood. Sometimes it's because there was a branch that came off that you can't see, but it was in close proximity. And sometimes it's because the wood is grown on a hill or on the side of a mountain, and some of those will have tensions built into them. Once in a while you can see it, often you can't. And when you start pushing wood, natural wood, through a saw, when you don't have a splitter or a riving knife, sometimes when you get to this point, it's usually when you first start cutting the wood, when you get to this point, some woods will pinch that tension inside the wood, will come together, and sometimes it'll even touch. And when that happens, it's a very, very strong tension. When that wood touches, what it does is, because the blade is running in this direction, it wants to grab that blade and it will throw the wood back. And that's what causes kickback particularly in natural wood. So the purpose of a splitter or a riving knife is when the wood gets out to here, it can't come back on the blade because there's something in there blocking it. If it goes together further up here, it's not hurting anything, but when it's getting together, trying to touch really close to the blade as it's coming off, that tends to make the wood want to kick back. Now, what a lot of people don't think about is that when you're using natural woods, or man-made woods rather, like plywood, MDF, and anything like that, there's no tension built into a man-made wood because the fibers are distributed in a random order, so there's no way that that wood is going to pinch together. So when you run a piece of plywood through a splitter or a riving knife, it isn't doing anything because that wood is never going to pinch in there. It doesn't hurt anything, but it doesn't particularly do anything either because it's inactive. But the real kickback comes here. Now, easily the biggest source of kickback on a table saw, it's got nothing to do with a riving knife, nothing to do with a splitter. It has everything to do with the setup of the fence. And the fence should have a slight angle away from the blade. And this is just a scrap piece of wood here. I take it over to the miter slot like that, lock the blade. And now if you look very, very carefully, you can see that the thickness here, it's about the thickness of this is an old room key card, a hotel room key card. So it's about that thickness. So it goes away. And the reason you want the fence going like that is because you don't want wood pinching against here. This is where the wood gets cut. Once it's cut here, the wood is free. It's free to move, freer to move in this area, so it's not going to pinch. And this is absolutely critical that the fence is set properly. If the fence were set, for example, this way, I can move it so it's askew like that. If the fence were set so that it is moving like this, now you're pinching wood in here. And in fact, having a riving knife or a splitter in there, it's actually worse because it's helping to put tension on the back of the blade, which is creating kickback. So this is easily the most important thing in the setup of a table saw. Okay, what I'm going to be doing, I'm not using a push stick here. I'm going to be using my hands. I'm going to push this side of the wood through. I'm going to cut off a very thin piece over there, but I want to show you that when I push this wood through, I want to show you the kickback. I got nothing on here, nothing going on here. Now I'm going to do exactly the same thing. This time I'm going to put the blade where I always advocate you should be cutting, a half tooth above the material. Same thing. Now the other thing I want to show you, to show what kickback is, I'm going to be cutting this piece of, just a piece of scrap plywood, and of course it's not touching the fence. It never ever should touch the fence. It's just running through. But I want you to see what this spinning blade, and I have this set, I'm going to draw that down just a tiny bit, and let's run that through. So once you get past this, because there's no resistance here, once the wood is cut and the air just kind of blows it away so that it's not touching the teeth, there's no reason for there to be kickback, and there isn't anything because we don't have the fence here. Now, let's put the riving knife and the splitter in. So when is a splitter useful? I'm definitely not against splitters. I think everybody should use them. In fact, I think everybody should use a splitter with a cover over it. And a riving knife, in my opinion, is second best. When you're cutting thicker wood, and of course, when you're cutting thicker wood, you're going to have the blade way up like this because you need to get through that wood. When you start cutting thicker wood like this, if it has tensions into it, you are not going to be able to hold that wood back. If you're just cutting little thin, 3/4 inch pieces of wood, and there's some tension in there, you might be able to hold that back without a splitter. But when you get big wood like this, especially if you have a big powerful saw, years ago I was cutting up some 2-inch wood with a saw that had a little small splitter on the end of it, and it was a piece that was about 5 feet long, and it was thicker than this, and I got it was a 5 horsepower table saw, and I got to about this point, and the wood was closing together. It was actually touching up there, and it was pushing back so hard on the blade I could not hold it. I had to yell, because I was working with somebody else at the time. I had to yell to get back. Fortunately, they weren't anywhere close to me. They were ahead of me. And I just had to get back and let the wood come through. And that was about the only time that I've ever had a serious apprehension about cutting wood. If you ever get into that situation, now I still had to cut that wood, but what I did was I dropped the saw way down, and I made the first, I think I made 3 cuts on it. So the first cut was maybe 1/2 inch, then maybe 3/4, and then the final one. And that worked just fine, but I had to run the wood through 3 times. And if you ever get into that situation, that's how you get through this. And in those cases, you would need to have a splitter, or in my case, I had a riving knife, or in my case, I had a very thin splitter, and that worked just fine. It was uneventful after that. The one thing that I do like about splitters, and probably there's really only 2 things: the fact that it does prevent the wood from moving up here. There's also a bad thing, and I'm going to talk about that right now. I see a lot of people cutting small pieces of wood like this. Let's move this blade down a little bit. Cutting small pieces of wood like this, particularly long pieces, it doesn't matter, but big pieces. And I see them with their push sticks way over here. And sometimes if it's a wider piece, I don't have much room here, but if it's a wider piece, I see the wood starting to angle out like this. Let me move the fence out here. Starting to angle out like this. And what happens, I can see them pushing like this on the wood, and the wood is tending to go like this, and what it can do is throw the wood back. And I've talked about this in other videos, and tons of people have copied me on it, and that's good, because we need to get the message out there. The one thing that a riving knife does is it prevents that wood from ever getting back in there, especially those little pieces, and throwing back. I still stick by my first thought that a splitter is the best thing to use, especially with a cover. But if you don't have that, a riving knife is second best. So let's talk about the bad things with riving knives that nobody talks about. And that is that when you have, now I talked about wood that splits like, or that forms together, and that's what these were designed for. Unfortunately, the opposite of that, and I see that from time to time as well, where wood will want to go like this. It splits out as you're cutting it. All of a sudden, the wood starts to go out. Now, what happens with a splitter? Here's what happens with a riving knife: is as you're pushing that wood through, and the wood is splitting away, so this part is coming off here, this one is pushing way into the fence over here, and what's happening, it compounds it by making it worse, because now it's pushing against the riving knife and the fence and the table saw blade. So it's actually making the cut worse or harder, and it doesn't get relieved until that split is beyond the fence, which you can't see now, but you know where it is up here. So riving knives and even splitters can make things worse under some conditions. So you'll need to be, if even understanding that, you can understand that and know that you can get into that situation. Now let me get the splitter over here with the cowling on. I want to talk about that. So you see me using this most of the time. As I've said, I seldom use the riving knife, but I do use the splitter. I'm not going to lock that down because I'm not going to do anything with it right now. Now, two reasons I like this. It does everything that a riving knife does, except once in a blue moon, I don't use anything because I need to cut a piece of wood, and I know that the next piece of wood that I cut, I'm going to have to remove either a riving knife or a splitter because I'm cutting it through the top, or I'm cutting it so low that the splitter or riving knife is going to get in the way. So the reason I like a splitter, particularly with this cover on here, is it prevents the dirt and dust and so on from shooting back at me. I don't really need to see what I'm cutting, and it's all enshrouded. The other thing, people underestimate these little kickback pawls are absolutely stunning. Now, in my case, I have put a hole in here where I can actually stop them, because once in a while I'm doing a stop cut, so I'm wanting to go in and then pull back, move, go in and come back. And when you have a splitter with these kickback pawls in here, you cannot pull that back. These little teeth in here grab like crazy. I'm going to put it on one side just so that you can see. And so if you're running through the wood and for some reason it's pinching or something's gone wrong, when you get to this point, those teeth in there, they will hang on so tight. Now this one isn't working here, but typically when I feel those are super strong, and they will grab the wood as you're cutting, and it will prevent you from the wood shooting back at you for whatever reason, if your fence is misaligned or whatever it is. That's why I like these, and they are so good that sometimes I need to move them out of the way for some specialized cut. But as a rule, they are on there all the time, and when you push the wood through, it works just fine. So not only does it keep your fingers away from the blade, it stops the wood for the twisting wood, prevents the chips and sawdust from coming back at you. Really far and above better than a riving knife. The takeaway today is, if you have a riving knife, by all means use it. But what I don't want people to do is to get absolutely confident that this is going to fix all of kickback on a table saw, because it may not do that. My suggestion is, if you have a splitter, particularly one that has a hood on it, my suggestion is to go dig that out and see if it still fits on your saw and if it still works, because you might be getting actually better results with the hood and the covering and the anti-kickback that you'll get from once you've got a splitter on there that fits around your saw. Now, I also did an entire video on table saw safety. That will show up somewhere down here. If you haven't seen that, I recommend that you go and get that, because this is all part and parcel of the same thing. But remember that kickback is not necessarily governed by what happens with a riving knife. You may need to look more closely at the setup of your table saw. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.